I love all of you. Even if this is your first time here, I love you. I do. You represent the beauty and the diversity of life. And what we have in our lives are quite diverse experiences, I have to say. We're talking this month about making it real. And for me, that means that a lot of us have different experiences of what is real. Oftentimes we talk about in churches like this or spiritual centers like this, whatever you want to call it, we talk about having connections to the divine. And so a lot of people want to connect to the divine. They want to have an experience of overwhelming joy, an experience of feeling like they're part of something special and that they themselves are special. And that's exactly what we do at centers like these, is we open up the possibility that perhaps we're the ones who have forgotten who we really are, and that channel is available to all of us. A lot of people have been in different religions thinking like, oh, in order for me to connect with the divinity that I am or that's around me, I have to be a certain way, I have to talk a certain way, I have to say something, apologize, forgive, behave in a certain manner. And a lot of religious organizations teach that there's some way you have to be connected to that source. And we don't teach that here. We teach that you're already connected to that source. And there's nothing that you could do to make it not love you unconditionally, no matter who you are. And it's a lot of social programming that I try and undo here so you can redo the fact that you're already there. You're already present to the presence. But we don't get connected in that way, right? And so whenever I talk about making it real, I've been really thinking about the things that have been impactful to me. Last week I talked about Baltimore and the challenges that American society has had with treating people unkindly, I would say. And the things that are happening around the world, I think a lot of hurt is starting to bubble to the surface. And it's bubbling to the surface not because we're going to continue to perpetuate it, but it's bubbling to the surface because it's finally time to heal it. And it needs to be revealed in order for us to heal it. So while a lot of people in the country have focused on Baltimore, and that's something that's very important, I've been sending my prayers to all of the different cities, Ferguson, all the cities that have had serious race challenges. There's something else going on that's been impacting me that maybe you guys don't know about. So on the Supreme Court, they're having quite a few things come up that have to do with gay rights and gay marriage in America. And I'm a lesbian, and so this is kind of a big deal for me. And I'm married to my wife. We got married before it was legal in California, and then we got married after it was legal, so I got married to the same person twice. It was fantastic. You should try it sometime. But it's fascinating to me. I was on Facebook, and I'm a big Facebook junkie. Many of you know that about me. And I was clicking of supporting somebody on their feed. They put like, oh, I won $900 in a scratcher ticket. And I was like, oh, blessings to you. And I wrote a comment. And then they private messaged me, and they said, oh, the reason why I posted this is because there's a little game going around Facebook. And the game is to raise awareness about breast cancer, so people can be having the fact that there's a lot of challenges with breast cancer going on. And if you keep it in your consciousness, then you can start contributing and making a difference to supporting the cure, finding a cure. And so they said, okay, well, if you want to continue on this game of bringing by this awareness, then here's 15 posts that you can choose from to post on your timeline without explanation. And so I read down the list, and on one of the posts was, I am a lesbian. And I thought, oh, I'll pick that one. Why not? That's where it came from. Yep. So I went ahead and posted, I am a lesbian, just to see what's going to happen. Now, 98 comments later, and I think 150 likes. It was probably one of the most beautiful, kind, and touching things that I've ever received from posting. I had overwhelming support. I had a mother who didn't know me, but her daughter is a lesbian, tell me how proud she was if I was just coming out. I had somebody give me compassion saying, did you post this because somebody was unkind to you and you're trying to bring awareness? And I want you to take care of yourself. Yeah. So it was really interesting to me what was bubbling up. Now, really, there was nothing unkind that was said to me. And part of it, I know, is the circle of people I'm with. The people that I'm with are invested in creating a world that works for everyone. And they're invested in supporting everybody, especially because of our differences, not despite them. And so I recognize the beautiful community that I belong in is not necessarily the community that's reflected out on the planet right now. So in the Supreme Court trials, the argument against gay marriage is that, and this is for the Michigan, there's actually 4 states that are up in this, but for the Michigan argument is that civil marriage seeks to forever link children with their biological mom and dad when that's possible. And they insisted that marriage was never intended to be dignitary bestowing on the married couple, and that, or dignity, that's what I should say, dignity bestowing on the married couple, and that dignity may have grown up about marriage as a cultural thing, but the state has no interest in bestowing or taking dignity away from anyone. And the guy against gay marriage warned the justices that if they changed the meaning of marriage from a union based on the biological bond between parents and children to one based on emotional commitment between adults, then adults could think that marriage was more about adults and not about kids. He argued that the supposed change would strike a grievous blow against the integrity of marriage between heterosexuals, and it would cause more children to be born outside of marriage. These are the arguments that are being held in the Supreme Court. So if you're shocked, this is what's going on in the United States, and this is a representation of what is going on. And for me, it shows how much healing we have yet to do, how much work we have yet to do. And I encourage you to open your mind up to the possibility of the areas where you have privilege where other people don't. And what I mean is, if you're not gay, then your opportunity is to support gay people. If you're a white person, your opportunity is to support our people of color. If you're a man, your opportunity is to support women. If you're of average height, your opportunity is to support people who are short and really tall. Because in all of those areas, people are discriminated against. If you're able-bodied, people who are not able-bodied get discriminated against. If you're younger, people who are older get discriminated against. And so it's looking at the pockets of opportunity that you have in your life. When I say making it real, I mean really making a difference in the lives of other people. And that means voting to support things that support everybody, that support loving and creating a world that works for everybody. Because that's what we're invested in this center. Last Friday, I was hanging out with some good friends, and we were having a really good time. And when I got home at 11:30 at night, I received a call from a good friend. And his daughter had just committed suicide. And it was very interesting to me to see the contrast of the fun, the frivolity, the enjoyment, the laughter that I had had, and coming home to the despair and the sorrow and the shock of having a daughter, and this was an adult daughter, she was 59, of committing suicide. And so thinking about that contrast, it made me realize, it made the fact come to light that all of this is the divine expressing itself. We like to think that only the positive experiences and the happiness are the divine expressing itself. But the divine is also expressing itself as we are in the human condition, through grief, through sorrow, and through sadness. Because oftentimes it's through those things that we have our greatest gifts. It's oftentimes through our biggest challenges and most difficult experiences that we grow the most. You know, a diamond is forged from hard pressure on coal. Steel is the same way. The only way you can create the strongest metal is through pressure, or the most precious stone is through intense pressure and challenge. And so some of you may be going through those circumstances right now. You might be having an experience in your life that is filled with grief or sadness or challenge. Maybe you've hit bottom. And I want to tell you that that's part of the beauty of life. And it doesn't end in the bottom, because the bottom is only a tool for transformation. The bottom is only the place that you go when something big is happening in your life. And so I want to encourage you to realize, if you're in that space, that it's okay to reach out to others for help. That's what community is about. And it's okay to tell somebody else what is going on in your life. It saddens me to know that there's so many people who forget the beauty and the divinity of who they are, and they choose to eliminate their life, to take out their own light, when there's always hope. And I don't know about you, I've hit bottom. Has anybody hit bottom before here? Yeah. Okay. More than once? Right? More than once? Yeah. And when you're in that spot, that's the time for you to reach out the most. Because there's a community of people out there, here, that are willing to support you. Because you're worth it. If I hadn't reached out, or if you hadn't reached out, or if you hadn't kept walking, you wouldn't be here today. And this community wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you. So I want to encourage you to recognize that who you are is something special in this world. It's something valuable, that the world needs you. The world needs the gifts that you have to share, and everybody was given gifts. There's nobody here that does not have gifts that they were born with and that the world needs. So I want to encourage you to reach out and to also look inside to find out, what is that of value that I bring to the world? Because I can tell you, we need it. What if Amy hadn't selected, hadn't decided, hadn't realized that she had this gift of song, of music, of writing? What if? The world would be a different place if you weren't sharing your gifts. You know? So each one of us has special gifts, and they're all different. But we wouldn't be in this beautiful rainbow of opportunity if we didn't have the diversity of gifts. And we wouldn't be here if it weren't for our moms. Mother's Day is a very challenging day for a lot of people, and it's a very beautiful day for a lot of people. Thich Nhat Hanh went to Japan one time. He wrote about this in 1962. He went to Japan. He's from Vietnam. And he went to Japan, and he didn't speak Japanese very well, and he was hanging out with his buddy, and there was somebody who spoke to his buddy in Japanese, and then they pinned a white flower on him. And he noticed everybody had either a white flower or a red flower. And he said, well, what's that about? And it just so happened that that day was Mother's Day in Japan. And he said, in Japan, if your mother is still alive, you wear a red flower on your pocket or lapel. If your mother is no longer alive, you wear a white flower. And he said, I looked at the white flower on my robe and I suddenly felt so unhappy. He said, I was much an orphan as any other unhappy orphan without their mother. We could no longer proudly wear red flowers in our buttonholes. Those who wear white flowers often suffer. And on Mother's Day, their thoughts cannot avoid returning to their mother. Those who wear red flowers have an opportunity to connect with their mother still while she was alive. They can still try to connect with her before she's gone, and it's too late. He said, Mother is a boundless source of love, an inexhaustible treasure. But unfortunately, sometimes we forget this. A mother gave us the most beautiful gift that life has to offer us, our own life. He said, those of you who still have your mothers, do not wait for her death to say, my God, I have lived beside my mother all these years without ever looking closely at her. So this is a challenging time sometimes for people. Not everybody had a good experience with their mother. A lot of people do. I had a great experience with my mother. She's sitting there in pink. She looks great. She's fantastic. And I'm absolutely grateful. And I can tell you as a minister, I would say that I'm probably the exception. Many people have challenging experiences with their mothers. And it's a challenging day, Mother's Day. Reverend Bill Arrett said that greatness is forged in great challenges. He wanted to point out that when we have our great challenges, oftentimes when we accept them and move with them, that big shifts happen in our lives. He said that Mother Teresa found her work when the church said no, and she went ahead and did the things she wanted to do anyway. Malcolm X found his true calling in prison. Buckminster Fuller found his true calling when standing on the shore of Lake Michigan contemplating suicide. Viktor Frankl found his in Auschwitz. Crazy Horse found his while fasting and meditating in a sweat lodge. You see, all of these people have had challenges. And yet, the challenges didn't overcome them. They made them who they are. And so I invite you to look upon your challenges and think about what are the gifts that those challenges gave to you. And maybe your challenge is your mother. But maybe the gift that she gave you is that you're alive. Not all mothers know how to be mothers. And oftentimes, many mothers don't get it until later on. Or many children don't get what their mothers were doing until later on. But it doesn't matter, because what's really happening is something holy and divine. Even in the challenges, even in the complicated experiences. So I want to honor mothers today, but I especially want to honor anybody who claims mothering as part of their expression. So if you feel like you are either a mother or you have mothered in your life, would you please stand? Everybody's, if you feel called, you don't need to. I just want to say if you feel called. And now I want you to look around at all these amazing souls. Dennis Merritt Jones said that Mother's Day is us to consciously reconnect with the power of unconditional love. And that's what mothering is. And so for those of you, those of you sitting, raise your hands up and face somebody towards you that's standing. And for those of you who are standing, I'd like you to raise your hands up and face somebody else who's claimed mothering. And I want you to repeat after me. Thank you for your mothering.
Thank you for your mothering.
I am grateful for your unconditional love.
I am grateful for your unconditional love.
I am grateful for what has birthed through you.
I am grateful for what has birthed through you.
I honor you.
I honor you.
I cherish you. I respect you. And I love you. And so it is. There was a beautiful thing that went around on the listserv. It was a note from this woman named Amy Young. She wrote an article to ministers. But I thought it was so appropriate, I'd like to read it to you as well. She said, "To those who give birth this year to their first child, we celebrate you. To those who lost a child this year, we mourn with you. To those of you who are in the trenches with little ones every day and wear the badge of food stains, we appreciate you. To those who experienced loss through miscarriage, failed adoptions, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who walk the hard path of infertility, fraught with pokes, prods, tears, and disappointment, we walk with you. Please forgive us when we say foolish things. We don't mean to make it harder than it is. To those of you who are foster moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. To those who have warm and close relationships with your children, we celebrate with you. To those who have disappointment, heartache, and distance with your children, we sit with you. To those of you who lost your mothers this year, we grieve with you. To those who experienced abuse at the hands of your own mother, we acknowledge you. To those who live through driving tests, medical tests, and the overall testing of motherhood, we are better for having you in our midst. To those of you who are single and long to be married and mothering your own children, we mourn that life has not turned out the way for you that you longed it to be. To those of you who step-parent, we walk with you on these very complex paths. To those who envisioned lavishing love on grandchildren, yet that dream is not yet to be, we dream with you. To those who will have emptier nests in the upcoming year, we grieve and rejoice with you. To those who have placed children up for adoption, we commend you for your selflessness. And remember how you hold that child in your heart still. To those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate this with you. And on this Mother's Day, we walk with you. Mothering is not for the faint of heart, and we have real warriors in our midst. We remember and honor all of you. By Amy Young. Yeah. So I invite you to consider today what challenges that you have and what gifts they've brought into your life. And perhaps if you're walking through a challenge right now, be open to the miracle, because it may just be in the very next moment. And for those of you who are having challenges with the whole mother experience, I want you to find a way in your heart that you can mother to yourself. What is one thing that you can do this week that you can consciously reconnect with yourself? An opportunity for you to share love with yourself. And maybe that's buying yourself some flowers. Or maybe that's going on a walk out in nature with Mother Nature. Or maybe it's looking into the mirror and saying, you know what? I do have gifts to share, and I deserve to share them with the world because the world needs me. I don't know what it is that you're going to choose, but I invite you to pick one thing this week to mother to yourself because you deserve it. Because the world does love you. The infinite loves you. The mother of all loves you. And I love you. Blessed be. Thank you.